I'm not, maybe people don't check their emails. All right, so I something. So if there is anyone in your network, even though they're just in the house tonight, Ola or Bayemi, while maintaining and just at the level, and we look because she's an Dami, an online platform on both purpose, chronic disease activity with over 100 people and life we wish and to show our choice. Oh, night on our play a lot of facts and they have American Heart Association. This good thing that we the some of these or herbs. Over to you, Dr. Dami.
All right, thank you very much, Dr. Ray. Thank you, everyone. So herbs, nuts, and spices. So what are these things, first of all? Herbs generally are plant-based, as we know, and they usually from the leaves, majorly from the leaves of plants, and they have nutritional benefits. They help to flavor meals, and they in themselves have nutrients, especially they add micronutrient to meals. So talking about leafy parts of plants, so you have things like your oregano, your fennel, you have your garlic, and all sorts. You have your spring onions and all that. For the spices, those ones are majorly from the root or the bark or the stem of the plants, and you're using them to add umami or flavor to your meals, and they also have nutritional value. So you have things like your ginger, your turmeric, cinnamon. Cinnamon comes from the bark of leaves, or I mean the bark of a tree, and it has a very sweet kind of flavorful aroma to it. So we have nuts, there are different nuts that are available even in our local context. We have our peanuts, we have almonds, we have cashew nuts, we have many of them that we can incorporate in our meals. I think the bottom line is being intentional about the things that we're doing. So it's, trying to, everything that goes into our mouth, we're thinking about those things. We're not just leaving it to chance. So I'm setting my table. I have to be intentionally think about the things the balance, the nutrient, think about the things I'm putting in there. Lastly, I also want to add that, yes, and there are ways in which we make our meals in the African context, but we need to shift from the norm. We have to be creative in order to, balance our meals in the most nutritious ways. Yeah, that's it from me.
Yeah, thank you so much, Dr. Dami, for saying that. You said we need to shift from the norm and make it more creative, because sometimes people regard some of these things that you have mentioned maybe as being expensive. Are they even locally available? So I believe that one of the things that we'll be talking about tonight is how available, are some of these things that we have mentioned. How can we get them, in order to incorporate them into our dishes? So let me move to Chef Obayemi. I know that you might want to add something more. So she talked about us getting things like ginger, cinnamon, fennel, as spices. Is there any other thing that you think is important?
So many spices. Okay. So for example, what we in Nigeria know as our pepper soup spices, right? Some of them, I don't know the English names, but like our Negro peppers, nutmeg, things like that are also very good. And just like she mentioned about being creative, it would amaze you that you can use your pepper soup spices as you please, even in other dishes. So for example, I love to experiment, and I've tried pepper soup spice in egusi, and it's amazing. And one of the things about spices is that it's not just about the taste. So you're talking about the aroma, I'm talking about the flavor, the texture. So when you use pepper soup spices, you know that they are very aromatic spices, but they also have immense benefits in the body. They have healing properties. I mean, there's been numerous research going on, on these spices, and you can tell about even when someone, for example, doesn't have appetite to eat, I mean, to eat food. When a person takes pepper soup, it has a way of opening up the person's taste buds. So, for example, we can also move towards spices like that, which also addresses the question that, these spices that you mentioned might be too expensive. Pepper soup spices are available in the market, and you can use it, to do different things. You can put it in your stews. I grew up seeing my mom use what they call the ehuru. That's the small pepper seeds that you need to sometimes smoke to get the flavor out and then pound. Those ones, you can use it for fish stews. You use it for imoyo. That's your watery fish stew. It takes to another level. So you can also try that, in incorporating spices that are easily available to you for your food.
Wow. Well, thank you so much. There was some things you mentioned there. I'm not sure everybody quite got it. But you know what? If you're in the room tonight and you're listening to us, this is Chef Obayemi. She's very creative with meals and with making use of natural spices to flavor food. And I'm going to be asking Dr. Oluwadamilola, Dr. Dami, what the benefits are. Why are we even thinking about using these natural spices in the first place? Why aren't we home and dry what we've been used to doing, at least in the last few decades? But if you have a question for any of them, please, as we go on, drop a chat in the box. We're going to have an opportunity to answer those questions. Oh, okay. So I'm seeing some okay, thank you for that. I'm seeing some feedback here. Right. Okay. Yes. So the meeting is going to be recorded. It's already being recorded, actually, so that other people can watch later. So, but if you have any question based on what is coming up now, just in case you don't grab anything, do drop a question. We'll get to it later. So over to you, Dr. Dami.
Okay, so the reason why we eat for two main reasons. We want to have energy, to perform our daily activities, and then for healing, for the body as it has ability to heal itself if we feed the body the right set of things. And these herbs and spices particularly help with the healing process of the body. They have anti-inflammatory properties. A lot of them have things that can help to prevent inflammation, which is the bedrock or the underlying factor for many chronic diseases. So, and they have micronutrients. So they may not give us macronutrients in terms of what will bring about energy, but in terms of the micronutrients that the body needs, the body to heal itself, these spices are able to give that to us. Secondly, if we're looking into, we know that in the course of the development of hypertension, especially in Blacks, it's very salt sensitive. So if you're looking at reducing your sodium intake, then you need to start to incorporate loads of herbs and spices in your meals. The reason is because it helps you to, in themselves, or when you use a singular spice or herb, or you use them in combination, they help to bring out the flavor or augment the flavor in your meals, such that you now need little or no salt added to your meals. So if there's someone who wants to prevent hypertension, you want to reduce your risk of developing hypertension, if this person is already hypertensive and you want to you're managing hypertension. In fact, in the DASH diet, which many physicians quote, decreasing the amount of sodium, increasing potassium, increasing magnesium is key elements of the DASH diet. And herbs and spices, some of them have those properties. They have sodium, they don't have little or no sodium in them. They have high potassium, magnesium, and all that, so such that hypertension can, the risk of developing, or we can use them to prevent hypertension or even treat hypertension, and generally just stem inflammation in the body. Yes, so those are the, among other things that herbs and spices help with in the body, and nuts too. Hello. Hello, everyone.
I can still
Yes,
hear
Dr.
you.
Dami, can hear you.
Okay, Dr. Markin, is Dr. Markin here? Okay, Chef D.
Maybe a network thing. Yes, okay.
Okay, maybe you have something to add to that.
Okay, so what I wanted to just add is, of course, like you said, Africans have a high tendency to react to salts in a negative way. And one of the ways that you can create a balance in a dish is to ensure, of course, that it's not salty and it's not too sweet, because there's also the aspect of food being too sweet. And I believe that was one of the bases that brought about the discovery of the fifth flavor profile, which we know as the umami deliciousness. We have 5 flavor profiles. We have the sweet, we have the sour, we have the salty, we have the bitter, and the 5th flavor profile, which is the umami, which means deliciousness. When you eat food and you get to that point where you're really enjoying it and you believe it's balanced, it's not salty, it's not bitter, it's not sour, it's just right. So it's delicious. And just like you mentioned, there are several ways to promote this deliciousness in our food without having to use additives, which usually from research is a major cause of some of the diseases, especially diseases that have to do with the organs, right? So when we use more of natural herbs, herbs such as, and I'm going to really be practical with things that we can that we have around us. So for example, with your pepper soup, it would amaze you that even the zest, when I mean zest now, that's the back of your fruits, right? So like your orange, your lemon, your lime. So you want to make soup, you want to make a pepper soup, or you want to make any kind of soup, an onion soup, a tomato soup. The zest of your lemon, the zest of your lime, the zest of your orange, it can add some flavor, to your food that can, help to balance your dish. It depends on the flavor you're trying to achieve, whether it's delicious, whether it is, salty. I mean, of course, not salty, but it depends on the flavor profile that you want to really enhance in your dish, because every food already has its flavor. So what we just need is to enhance. And that's why most times we go, to the shortcuts and we just put powder, flavor powder, we put, something just to, get that quick, delicious taste. But, when we use things like a zest, for example, or even your lemongrass, we have lemongrass in these parts in Nigeria, for example, it can take your boiling meats, for example. It can take your meat to another level. I use lemongrass, for example, to cook my beef. So your thyme, your dry thyme, your dry rosemary, your bay leaf. Then you can also use seeds, right? So seeds are also spices.
Yes.
They're spice seeds. that you can use, to boil your meat. I don't use seasoning cubes. I don't want to mention any names because I'm not trying to bring any brand down, but I don't use seasoning cubes for the most part, of my cooking, especially when I'm trying to make a broth, I'm trying to make or chicken or anything, or even just, regular dishes like beans, for example. You can actually cook your beans without any seasoning powder, your akara, your moi moi, the simple seeds like the cumin. You have access to these things in the market, and so amazed that they're not even as expensive as you think. Cumin, coriander, fennel. You can put pepper soup spice even inside your moi moi. It changes the whole game and makes it more flavorful and takes to that level of comfort food. Moi moi is a comfort food, actually. So, just experimenting with these things and eventually getting to that place where you feel like, okay, I think I've gotten it right, this time, and then you replicate it over and again.
Okay. Thank you very much, Chef D, for that. We've said so much about herbs and spices. Maybe we should talk a little about nuts. Yes.
Nuts, yeah.
Nuts, yes. Nuts are very rich in protein. They are very rich in protein and healthy fat. You actually have when I mean healthy fats, I mean the mono or polyunsaturated fats. Okay, saturated fats, generally you want to ensure that, and trans fats, they are the fats that you do not want to take in high quantity. So, it's recommended that our meals should this amount of saturated fat in our meal should be less than 10%, or the less than 10% of total fat should actually come from saturated fat. So if you're looking into cutting down on saturated fats, nuts and seeds are actually, they have high amounts of the healthy fats that we're talking about, and even essential fats, the omega-3, omega-6. So we have, as I said earlier, we have peanuts, we have cashew nuts, we have almond nuts, we have pistachio. We don't have pistachio. Have you seen one,
Yes, I have.
Really? Okay. In Nigeria?
Yes, some of the supermarkets are supermarkets are catered to, of course, our expatriates and those intercontinental supermarkets, they store pistachios, yes. Well, it's imported, yes. So of course, if you want to, you can definitely make use. Yeah, it's imported. Pistachios, macadamia, walnuts. We have African walnuts, though.
We have African walnuts, yes.
Yes, but there's also, walnuts. That is not African, So
as I was saying, some people ask me commonly that, okay, if I go plant-based, it's a common question that people had asked, that if I go plant-based, am I going to get all the macronutrients that I need in terms of my protein, my the daily requirements of protein, and all that. So nuts have high amounts of protein. So if you're plant-based, you're on a plant-based diet, you don't have to worry about your protein intake. Combining even the vegetables that we eat, they have proteins in them. Spinach, our ugu leaves and all that, they still have some amounts of protein in them, but nuts have high amounts of protein in them and healthy fat. But of course, quantity also matters, because the fat content, and they have fat, even though a higher proportion of healthy fats, but they still have saturated fats in them. So the amount that we're going to incorporate per time also matters. So using the rule of the hand, so a portion of nuts that you're taking per time should be about your cupped hand. Depending for almond nuts, for brown nuts, some people will say just count like 17 70 peanuts in your hand. That's what you should eat per portion. So you don't want to overindulge in them. Secondly, salting your nuts also affects the value that you get from them. So if you should opt for unsalted brands of
nuts.
the nuts, groundnuts particularly. I recently got a blog. I met someone at my place of work who sells roasted peanuts, roasted groundnuts. And I just approached her, please, can you make mine without salt? And she did, and it tasted amazing. You believe me, you just need to, sometimes we think some things are not possible. You need to explore these things. Just approach that person, that vendor that sells you, someone that is reliable anyway. Can you make this without salt for me? And it tastes amazing. It's delicious because, of course, it adds its own saltiness.
Yeah.
You just need your taste bud to adjust to it over time. But trust me, it tasted really, really nice. I don't know if you have anything to add to that.
Yes, I was reading a write-up from a publication, from Harvard Health, and they're talking about nuts and seeds, and it's amazing to find out how much protein you have in nuts, like you said. So it's obviously it's a good alternative. It's definitely a good alternative for the protein that we get from animals, right? For example, you can turn your nuts to paste and use it to cook. You can turn your nuts to paste and use it to bake. You can turn your nuts to paste and use it for a marinade.
Okay.
Right. Of course, you need to infuse, because I would like to really give practical. I'm giving lots of examples because doctor is a doctor, so we can look for practical ways to really understand, to give a context to the things that she's saying. So you can turn your granite to a paste. And I know that there's a season for garden egg in Nigeria, for example, where you see the people who hawk, garden egg, hawk this granite paste. You can even make your paste yourself, freeze it, if you have a very large batch, and just, bring out the portion that you need per time. I put peanut paste or granite paste, or what we know as peanut butter, in my children's pancakes, so that already gives it a deliciousness. You can also use it for a marinade, like I was saying, some peanut paste with some lemon juice, a little bit of honey, you can use it for a marinade. There's also granite soup. These are things, and it's amazing. It even has its own oils. So when you use it to cook, it should also reduce, the amount of oil that you use in your food. Then coconut, maybe because of the size, we often ignore that it's actually a nut. So coconut is there's so many things that we can get from coconut. Apart from, of course, the fiber, because when you chew it, it's very, it has a full mouth effect, the mouthfeel effect. So it's rich in fiber. You can get coconut milk from it. You can get coconut cream from it. In one of my discoveries some years ago, I discovered that there's coconut yogurt. So if you are lactose intolerant, the doctors are here, they understand these things. If you're lactose intolerant, coconut milk is a very good option. Coconut milk, you can use it to boil your rice. You can use coconut milk to cook anything, your beans, you can use it for your baking, to make cookies. Coconut oil is also from coconut milk. So these are options, that enhance the flavor of our food without having to add, the additives that have this impact. When you use coconut milk to cook rice, I don't think you would need, powder. If you're able to combine it with other flavors, you put coconut milk with rice, and you add a little bit of turmeric, you add a little bit of star anise, or even your pepper soup spice. Any of the spices that has an aromatic feel, into your rice, and just a little bit of sea salt if you have access to that, and some lemongrass. it takes your rice to another level, and in everything that I've said, you notice I did not mention, the use of any extra seasoning powder, right? So coconut is also a very great nut that you can use. There are so many other nuts. There's also cashew nuts. Cashew nut, there's also cashew milk. You can get cashew milk from your nuts, when you blend it, and then you use a muslin cloth. That's what they know to sieve pap, right? So when you blend your cashew nuts, you can also get cashew milk from your cashew nuts. If you have access to almonds, you can make your almond milk if you don't want to buy, from off the shelf. And you can also use that for so many other things, to cook, to bake, to marinate, and you can even put it in your smoothies. Then I know we're not talking about seeds, but there are some sensational seeds, some are called the superfoods, that can also be a great addition even to food being medicine. Like chia seeds. I know that many of us know chia seeds, and they become more accessible to us in this part of the world, in Nigeria. Chia seeds, you can put them in your smoothies. I love to put them in the smoothie I've had today. I had chia seeds in them. They're very good. I never knew that they had protein in them. Well, I discovered that it helps with my bowel movement. When I have chia seeds, it helps with bowel movement. Sometimes it aids digestion. So chia seeds are a very good addition. If you have oats, you're making oats or custard or pap, you can just sprinkle half a teaspoon. I actually read from Harvard Health again that half a tablespoon of chia seeds has about 2 grams of protein. I was surprised to actually discover that. So seeds are very good. Chia seeds, flax seeds, pumpkin seeds, flax seeds. These seeds are really, really good, and they are packed with lots of protein, again, that can help us as medicine.
Okay, thank you very much, Chef D. Speaking of, I particularly love chia seed, flax seed. I use them almost every day, and they have lots of fiber in them. So, and that's what herbs, spices, nuts also give to you. In addition to the protein, healthy fat, they're also high in fiber. And the fiber content of your meal helps with your gut health. The gut we are beginning to see the gut as a second brain that commands different things in the body. So, and that's why now we're understanding that the things that we put in our mouth as food can serve as our medicine. So please leave your questions, comments in the chat box so that we can attend to them. So I want us to go maybe in the next 5 minutes. Chef D, I want you to be very practical with us. So in a typical Nigerian wants to make a stew, a rice stew or something, or you want to make jollof rice, our well-known jollof rice, or we want to make fried rice. Let's start from there. What are those herbs and spices that can help to augment this type of? So let's start with the regular stew or soups, practically now. And this is based on the fact that some spices go well, herbs and spices they go well together. Some don't go well together. So please help us with this.
Okay, so first and foremost, for stews, I'm taking it that protein is allowed, animal protein is allowed, right?
Hello, ma'am.
I'll speak for both.
Plant protein. We do plant-based.
Oh, plant-based, strictly here.
Yeah, yes.
Okay. So for plant-based, first thing I would like to make us understand is that tomatoes are very high in umami. So what that means is that tomatoes are delicious. When you eat a tomato, sometimes, yes, it might give you that sour taste, but most tomatoes, they have the prospect to give you the umami flavor. So you would want to use a lot of tomatoes in your dish. If you are also looking to promote the sweetness in your stew, the bell peppers, for some people who might be abroad, the sweet bell peppers are also an excellent choice for stews. So you might want to have an equal proportion of the tomatoes and the sweet bell peppers, depending on the flavor profile you want to promote, the most. So if you're looking to promote the umami, the tomatoes will definitely be higher. If you want to promote sweetness, then you want to use your sweet bell peppers more. And then if you want a little bit of heat, then the spice condiment of your habanero or your Scotch bonnet, which we know in Nigeria as atarodo. So you want to minimize that. The cayenne pepper, which is the shombo, is mostly for color. And then the paprika, which is our tatashe, is also for a little bit of color and then sweetness. So the herbs that would go very well with stews are thyme and rosemary. Thyme and rosemary, they are in the same family. So if you have access to both of them, I mean, that's excellent. They are a good marriage for any dish you're going to use it for. So thyme and rosemary, if you have access to the fresh one, it's more excellent because you are going to introduce some freshness to your dish as well. Dry spices are usually more concentrated, but in many cases or in most cases, it's preferable to use the fresh one because you would have more of the flavor, packed in the fresh herbs. So your thyme, your rosemary, your oregano, your bay leaf. Your bay leaf helps to bring all your spices together and it enhances the properties of the other spices and herbs that you have put into whatever dish you are cooking. For seeds, for spice seeds, you want to have your cumin, your coriander, which are like brother and sister in every Indian masala, which is a mix of spices. So your cumin, your coriander, your fenugreek, you want to have this together in powdered form into your stew with your oregano. You have the fresh, your thyme, and your rosemary. And then maybe a little bit of turmeric. Turmeric could also have a little bit of spice in the fresh form, and the powdered form is fine. So if you use this with a dash of sea salt and you slow cook your stew, it will be flavorful.
Okay, slow cooking. Yeah, slow cooking.
Yes, slow cooking. So slow cooking means that you're cooking on the lowest heat for a longer time. Lowest heat for a longer time. So you definitely get a flavorful food. But of course, it also depends on the steps that you're going to take. So if I'm allowed to, just give a quick step. So if you're making a basic stew maybe for rice, you want to start off with your olive oil. Olive oil is also packed with flavor compared to the other oils, olive oil, sunflower oil, canola, soybean, or whatever oil preference you have amongst these plant-based oils. So you want to saute your garlic and onion paste, garlic, onion, ginger, and turmeric paste. If you have them in fresh form, is actually better. Don't forget I mentioned that it's better you have your herbs and your spices in fresh form as much as you can have access to. So you want to saute that until it begins to give its aroma. And then you add the blend of your tomato, your sweet bell peppers, like I said, depending on, but your tomato should have the highest proportion if you are looking to promote the umami, or your sweet bell peppers if you are looking to promote the sweetness of the bell peppers. So you fry that in your oil, and then once that is done, you put in the spices that I mentioned, the rosemary, the thyme, the bay leaf, the combination of your cumin, coriander, fenugreek in powder. Yeah.
Okay, so I think to summarize,
salt, of course.
Okay. I think to summarize what you just said, I think the multi-purpose spices, if I may use that word, ginger, turmeric, garlic, rosemary.
In fresh form, yes.
In fresh form. Rosemary, particularly in fresh form, you can use it to do almost anything. So ginger,
Yes.
turmeric, garlic, rosemary, what else? Your
I said bay leaf.
Bay leaves. Okay, bay leaf will actually, you adding bay leaf to your spices will actually help to bring
enhance, bring them together, and then it enhances it.
Yes, it's an enhancer. Yes.
Yes, an enhancer. Yes.
Enhancer, yes. Okay, yes. So someone said, okay, let me read comments right now. I have some comments here. It says, what about the use of genetically modified plant-based, e.g. habanero and co? Any health benefits from them? Of course, when they are genetically modified, you don't want to GMOs. You don't want to do, and that's why we talk about organic. So if you have organic is always better than the genetically modified, whatever it is that is genetically modified. You don't want to use those kind of things. So I think what one can reach, the solution to that will be getting organic forms of these peppers from sourcing them from known places that you know that they grow organic. And there are people that grow organic of these things, even in Nigeria. Okay, so
I think it is okay.
All right, please go ahead.
Okay, I wanted to just add that another thing would be to have a garden, no matter how small, and there are so many creative ways people are gardening now. Even if you don't have a space, you can use buckets, you can use sacks, to garden. So for your own habanero, if you're able to get access to organic seeds, you can plant yours, at least the ones that you can use in a small scale. That would go a long way. Gardening has helped me. There's some things that I don't spend money on anymore. I mean, for me in Nigeria here, Ewedu, my oregano, I have my oregano in my garden. I have my lemongrass in my garden. My bitter leaf. I have my basil. I have two varieties of basil, curry leaf, and I'm planting much more, because research and of course even the economic situation all over the world, is bringing us back to these things that we used to do. Man was agrarian at some point, so it's taking us back to these things, and it's really worth it if you can invest in a small garden. If you can.
Thank you very much, Chef D. Practically, I recently got to know, I reside inside the Redemption City, Mowe, Ogun State, and there's someone who actually plants all those green pepper, yellow pepper, habanero that I recently discovered. When I ate his own, I actually ate the red pepper. It tasted different.
Yeah.
Pure organic. It was delicious in itself. So these things can be done. It's not only in Jos that all these peppers can be planted. Can we go and start planting these things and find a way of planting these things? There's someone in Ogun State planting habanero, planting all this, and it's a challenge to every one of us. So let's continue to read the comments that we have in the chat box. So he said this from one of our mentors, Mommy Grace Ronke Adegoke, saying, "Hi everyone, great topic, guys. The only warning I will sound is to be wary of aflatoxin, a form of mold toxicity which can develop as a result of moisture if nuts, grains, and pulses are not properly dried. This is quite a thing in the African region. In African regions where food safety practices aren't really mandatory, this can happen during raining season when partly dried products can be hurriedly packaged or packed away while somehow still wet, and mold can therefore develop." This is so true. And aflatoxin, it's causing liver toxicity, no matter the amount of heat you apply to it's a form of fungi, it will not die. So especially our peanuts, when we see peanuts with molds or any more nuts or all those seeds or even our spices, when they start to grow mold, we must discard them. And that brings me to storage of these things, even the dried ones. How do we store them? I think it's better
for the dry.
For the dry ones, how do we store them properly?
So, like I'm an advocate for storing your spice seeds whole. What do I mean? So, for example, your pepper soup spice, there are about at least 10 of them, 10 pepper soup spices. So I would rather have them whole and grind them that for a period of maybe say a month at the very, I mean, at most maximum. A month, because when you maximum, so you grind and store to use for a short while, because even grinding the spice seeds over time, they lose flavor. They are not as potent as when they are whole, and then you just grind to use. So that's one aspect. The other aspect is to, of course, store them in airtight containers. So even in comparison, whole seed spices and ground spices, the whole seed spices last longer. You can have whole seed spices for longer than a year. So black peppercorn, you can have black peppercorns for about a year. On the other hand, the ground ones, it depends on how you store them, and depends on sometimes even the ones they sell on the shelf, if they've introduced preservatives, you don't also know. So in comparison, the whole dry spices last longer. Then you would also want to take care to not introduce moisture. Sometimes when we are cooking, when you are cooking, you bring the spice, you bring it close to your pot, evaporation, the heat, that's already moisture. Then sometimes you put the same spoon you're using to maybe mix or turn or do something, you put it inside the spice, you have introduced moisture that way. Yeah. So you would want to, just take out the spices that you need just before you cook. You call it food prep. So whilst doing your food prep, you might want to just take out what you need. And if maybe peradventure you forgot to bring out one of the spices, before you started cooking, you can do it away from the heat and also use a dry cutlery, to take out your spice from the container, so you don't introduce moisture, and of course it stays free from air.
Okay, so we want to be rounding off shortly, but let's quickly attend to the comments in the chat box. Okay, so we have here. Can you please share about bay leaf? I think we've already done that. Bay leaf is an enhancer, and you can actually use in itself. It really doesn't do much, but when you combine it with other spices, it helps to bring out the flavor in other spices.
And that's why your jollof rice is always a hit.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Can we
someone
buy
said
some of
here that can we use pepper soup spice? Okay.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay.
Can we buy some of these spices from the supermarket, like rosemary, because the fresh ones are not available? Now, please, the thing is, it's the extent to which you searched. The fresh ones, we can grow them actually. You add Chef D, say that she adds rosemary in our garden, which I'm going to get from her after now to plant in my garden. So please, it depends on how willing you are to search. So you can search, but in the absence of the fresh one, you can still use the dry one. The one that is dry. But for those packaged ones, you have to be careful. You have to read the labels. Are there preservatives or not? So if there are no preservatives, you're sure of the source, then you can, of course, more fresh it is, the better. Okay, sorry to you all, but okay. Someone says she's leaving because she has to attend to another meeting. Okay, also, Ma, can I get my daily fat requirement from only nuts? No, well, my daily fat requirement from only nuts. Well, yes, if you are able to eat diverse nuts, if you're able to incorporate diverse nuts in your diet, yes, why not? You can incorporate. So that means you're not going to be using oils. Yes, you can. You can actually. Let's. It's possible if you're able to incorporate diverse nuts in your diet, because of course fat is also essential. It's not like you shouldn't eat fats at all, but healthy fats. Please, Ma, I'm actually.
And you can also get them from. Sorry, I wanted to just add. You can also get from some of the seeds that we mentioned earlier, and then of course the sunflower seeds, then even avocado. You can also get fats.
Yeah, fats, healthy fats from there. Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so yes, the recording of this presentation will be made available after the meeting. Someone said, please, Ma, I'm actually speaking to how it should be used. Is it okay to grind it? And is there any caution to be taken? That's Success Olale. Yeah, I want to see the preceding question. Okay. Yes, Chevy, I think she's asking, can bay leaf, should it be in the ground form or is there any difference whether you use it in the ground form or you use?
Okay.
How should it be?
Yes. So you can.
How should bay leaf? Okay. Is it okay to grind it? Is there any caution to be taken with the use of bay leaf?
Okay. So as far as I know, there is no caution. But of course, we know that there's always research ongoing on everything. But as of now, I don't know of any caution, to using bay leaf. But of course, everything should be done in moderation. Number two,
yes.
As to if you can grind bay leaf to powder, of course you can grind bay leaf to powder, but don't forget that it's an enhancer. So if you are grinding it to powder, it means that you're making a spice mix. So which the Indians call a masala. So you are making a masala. So you're making a bay leaf powder. It means that you're combining maybe bay leaf, cumin, coriander, or you're grinding bay leaf, parsley powder, onion powder. You're just bringing herbs and spices together, and then you add your bay leaf powder to it. Yes, it's going to definitely be more effective that way. And you can also leave your bay leaf as a whole herb. Whole dry herb.
Okay, I think we have been able to attend to all the questions in the chat box.
Doctor,
so
there's one question at the very top. I was trying to call your attention to it at the very top. I think that was the first question that came in.
Okay, but it seems that the seeds available for various plant cultivation are genetically modified.
No, not that one. It says,
okay.
Not that one. I don't think it's that one. It says, can we use pepper soup spices to boil meat or fish spices? That's what I'm saying here. I don't know if you can see it at your end.
Please, you can read it and answer the question. I can't see it.
Oh, okay. It says, can we use pepper soup spices to boil meat or fish spices? I know we're trying to encourage plant-based here. Can we answer that question, or we should?
Can we use? Okay. Yes, you can. Actually, what we say is that most of the time we should take we preach plant-based lifestyle medicine. Preaching is plant-based most of the time. Yeah. So if you have to take your meat, preferably white meat, deskinned, you can use any of those spices that we mentioned. I think it's a good point to summarize all that we have learned from the discussion today. Thank you, Chef D. On behalf of Dr. Ore, on behalf of Dr. Ore, who is the convener of the LCI, we appreciate you joining us today. And I hope everyone here has gained one or two things from the discussion today. Perhaps the food that we eat has the ability to heal the body. So we have to be intentional and pay attention, particular attention to the things that we put in our mouth. So Hippocrates said, make food thy medicine. Otherwise, medicine will become your food. I think it's a food for thought to every one of us. If you do not intentionally make the things that you eat your medicine, then eventually medicine, drugs will become someone's, not you and I, someone's food. So we've highlighted what spices and herbs are, and we gave examples, the all-purpose spices that you and I can use for different cooking. We've mentioned garlic, turmeric, ginger, our rosemary, oregano, we mentioned fennel. We can also use our herbs for teas. We can take our zobo teas, lemongrass teas, and also depending on what you find useful. One also highlights in this our discussion today is storage. I didn't used to pay particular attention to that until you mentioned today that introducing one way that we introduce moisture in our maybe grains, even grains or spices or whatever we have stored, is dipping the same spoon used in cooking that is wet, and then introducing it in the container that we're getting our spices or whatever it is that we're using from. So it's better to undergo what we call food prep. You would already have separated the quantity that you want to use for cooking separate from the container, so that you don't introduce moisture, which can now cause the development, or the growth of molds in our stored grains or spices or whatever items that we have stored. So, and another highlight for us today is that all these things can be planted. Chef D, I have some spices on my little garden in front of my house. She has a herbs and spice garden too. So I'm challenging each and every one of us this day that we should start to plant. I plant, you plant, we all eat. So that's the way to go about it. You're sure of the things that you have used in planting. And your nutrition doesn't start from only cooking your meal and then eating them. The soil in which the thing that you have planted, or the soil in which the plant grew, is also very important. Or the additives at the planting level, introduction of pesticide, herbicides, and all those things have of great import in the overall nutrients that you get from that particular plant. I hope we've all had a swell time in our discussion today. Once again, thank you, Chef D. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in.
Thank you for inviting me, ma'am.
Someone is I think there's a discussion going on about the use of palm oil. Palm oil is great. It's rich in saturated fats. It also has, but the quantity of saturated fat in palm oil is more than the polyunsaturated or monounsaturated fat, and that's why it solidifies. It's because of the amount of saturated fat in it. That's not to say condemn our palm oil. Now, the way you use it, the quantity that you use per time in your cooking is very important. I still use palm oil. I use palm oil, but I have a rule that I follow: 1 teaspoon per person per the number of days that food is going to be taken. So if we have let's say it's a family of 4. So if it's a family of 4 and I'm going to make a pot of egusi soup using my palm oil, the amount of palm oil that I'm going to use for that egusi soup is 1 teaspoon 1 teaspoon. It's 1 teaspoon per person per the number of days. So if we are 4 in the family and we're going to eat that pot of soup for 2 days, so it's going to be 1 teaspoon times 4 times 2. That's 8 teaspoons. That's a way. That's a way of generally. Yeah, someone said egusi doesn't have or that adds or yes. There's virtually anything. There's everything, almost anything. Everything has oil in it.
Yeah, I was going to say that. I was going to say that if we are cooking with, if we are making egusi soup, the way I make my egusi soup, there are various methods, but I would most likely like to steam it first on its own, cook it on its own, and then add my oil. So I would like to recommend that if you are cooking with palm oil, let it be something that comes in, whilst you are cooking, and not before. That way you have allowed it to. You have allowed, especially you are making egusi soup, you have allowed egusi to release its own oil, and then you can now add the palm oil. And that method that doctor has, shared with us, you would see enough oil, if not enough palm oil, more than enough palm oil, because that's what people like to see.
That's a rule of thumb for me. So I don't use too much, whether it's a palm oil or whatever oil it is, irrespective of the oil that I'm using. Less is more. You have to cut down on it. And
palm oil is such untapped potential.
Yes. If you want to bring out the yellow color that you so desire in your pottages, in your egusi, turmeric is a good coloring. Which turmeric? Yes, which is also is a spice, right? Yes, not a
it's a spice. Yeah, it's a spice. Yes.
It has this yellow color that you can, whether it's in the wet form or the dry form. I use this in my yam pottage, in my beans pottage, in my stew, jollof rice. It helps to bring that golden yellow color that Nigerians love to see. Which palm oil? That's the reason why we use excess palm oil. But you can get that same color, that same effect using your turmeric. I think this is a good juncture to call it a day. I think Dr. Moyosori Makinde is on now. I think she can give a closing remark. Thank you everyone for tuning in today. Until next time. Dr. Moyosori Makinde, over to you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Dami, for holding the fort there. Thank you, Mrs. Obayemi, Chef D, for sharing out of your amazing experience. Thank you so much, everyone, for being here. Sorry, I had a hard time getting back in. I think my network just went off completely, no matter what I tried. But I'm glad I was able to join before the end of the meeting. And I want to say thank you to everyone who has followed the conversation tonight. There's so much, when it comes to nutrition, when it comes to healthy eating, and there are a lot of controversies out there. Some people have their own opinions, and of course, everyone is really entitled to their own opinion based on their experience. But as much as possible, we try to go with what is evidence-based, what we know works and what we know it is applicable, within our own setting. We always want to be culturally sensitive. And one of the things I want us to go home with tonight is, as much as possible, even as you are trying to explore and be creative with your foods, one of the things that you really should avoid is all the processed food out there, from all the different stores, the food stores, going out to eat. When you go out to eat, that's when you get more of, the harmful food into your nutrients, or that's when you get the excess, calories, or the unhealthy calories, or the things that will not really benefit you. But if you're staying, with our regular home food, and you're cultivating the habit of using the healthy food plates, where half of what is on your plate is mostly vegetables, and then a quarter of it is a carb, another quarter is a protein, then you'll be doing yourself a very big favor. So this is where we're going to round it off tonight. I want to appreciate the board of advisors of LCI. I could see Mrs. Grace Adegoke putting in. Thank you for being here, ma. Thank you for always sharing your passion about healthy food. We have so many people in the house. I hope I'll be able to recognize us as we turn out, as we leave. But we'll be uploading this to our channel on YouTube so that people who have missed out on bit or the other can also have the opportunity to catch up. All right. Okay, so I think I'll say good night to everyone. You can unmute yourself and say hello or good night, either one.
Good night,
Thank you so much, Dr. Makinde, for having me. Thank you so much,
you,
everyone.
Thank
you.
It was a wonderful
Thanks,
time.
everyone.
ma.
Have a great time.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
We
Our
appreciate you.
facilitator. Thank you, Dr. Ore. Thank
Thank you,
you.
ma. Oh, good to
Thank you.
see you, ma.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Doctor.
Thanks,
Oh,
man.
good to see everyone.
Thank you to all of you.
Our speaker,
God
really
bless you.
appreciate.
Thank you for
No
joining
problem,
us.
man.
God bless us. God bless Maz.
Bye.
Man, thank you so
Bye.
much.
Have a good night.
Good
Thank
night.
you.
Bye.
Bye. God bless. Good
Bye,
night.
man.
Bye.
Thank you, Doctor. Good night.